Hello, I'm Travis Fig, and this is How Do You Figure, the show about whatever I want. Today, I want to talk about the ethics of abortion. As of the time of recording, Amy Coney Barrett has recently been appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court. Some people fear that as a result, abortion rights could be in jeopardy. I thought it would be a good idea to talk about the ethics of abortion. In a later video, I plan to talk about some of the legal aspects of abortion. Now, I should say, I'm not going to talk about every single ethical issue that could possibly be brought to bear in thinking about abortion, just some of the main ones. The first question we can ask is this thing a person? Now, some people will talk about life or human life. For instance, some people say that life begins at conception. Now, I think people are talking about the same thing here, but the terminology is confusing. In one sense, a life is just a living thing. The fertilized ovum is a living thing. It is, biologically speaking, a life. And no one in this debate disputes that. That's not what's in contention. In one sense, a human life is just a living thing which is a member of the species Homo sapiens. The fertilized ovum has human DNA. It is biologically human. And again, no one in this debate disputes that. That's not what's in contention. What's in contention is whether it is a person. Now, what's a person? Well, one of the problems is that it's hard to say exactly. Basically, we all agree that it is wrong to harm or kill a human being who was already born, except perhaps in special circumstances with special reasons. And we can debate and discuss what those might be. We mostly all agree that human beings who are born are persons. Now, there could conceivably be persons who aren't human beings. For instance, some of the aliens in Star Wars or Star Trek are obviously not members of the species Homo sapiens, but are persons, worthy of the same sort of moral consideration. And you might think something could be biologically human, but not a person. For instance, you might think that the fertilized ovum, while biologically human, is not a person. This will all depend on what you think makes a person, and that's a very controversial thing. Now, if at some point during the pregnancy the thing becomes a person, then at that point it will be worthy of the moral considerations that we give to born human beings. Okay, our next question is, if it's not a person, does the fact that it has the potential to become or give rise to a person give it some kind of moral status? Either equal to a person or less, but still not zero. Then we can ask, if it has moral status, either the moral status of a person or the moral status of something lesser, then are there other considerations which could outweigh any moral obligation there might be to keep it alive and bring it to term? Now, some things can have bad aspects and be justified in some cases. An example would be vaccines. Now, I'm not going to discuss the anti-vaxxer stuff here. I don't have the time for it. For sake of argument, I'm going to assume that vaccines are reasonably safe and effective. There's something bad about a vaccine. It causes pain. We all agree that causing children pain is bad, morally bad. But we think giving a child an injection for a vaccine is morally justified because of the benefits. Another example would be self-defense. Many people think that with some limits, it is okay to harm someone else to prevent harm to yourself. Again, with some limits. Normally that harm would be bad, but in these special cases, it's morally justified. So we might think that even if the thing has some moral status, either that of a person or something lesser, there might be other considerations that make terminating the pregnancy justified in some cases. So this is why people will talk about death of the mother, risk of injury or health problems, and also the burdens of pregnancy and childbirth and childbearing. All these are considerations that people think should be taken into consideration when considering whether or not an abortion is justified.